Welcome to C-Files, folks. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, please. Help out with the logarithms. And hit that bell notification if you want notifications. This video is being made just before the presidential debate comes in at 9 p.m. tonight. We're at 8:36 now. And so in just a little over about 25, 26 minutes, the debate will start. But I want to get right into some news. And I want to say this. What you're hearing in the mainstream media, which, by the way, is largely insignificant, and by the way, will receive the highest ratings they've ever received this year, so far this year, when it comes to when the debate airs. Why? Because Trump is going against Harris. It's Trump that will give them their ratings. The news items we're going to look at are going to hopefully dig a little bit deeper than what you're going to get on the surface level. You know, it's always the iceberg underneath the ocean, not the one you can see above the ocean, that sinks the ocean liner. All right, let's get right into it. This has to do with the SAFE Act, and I know I even received a text telling me I need to support the SAFE Act, which is supposed to secure our elections. But let's see what this gentleman has to say.
And I would call on Mr. Massey.
Can we be honest with the American people about what's going on here? This is political theater. I'm going to call out both sides right here. It's all posturing, it's fake fighting. We all know where it ends up. This is Groundhog Day. I don't care if the Democrat is the speaker or Republican is the speaker. We always get a CR in September, and then we get an omnibus. Sometimes there's a twist on that. We might get the omnibus before Christmas, but if we're not good, it comes after Christmas. But that's what's going to happen. And in the meantime, it's political theater. You know, we've got it's good theater. We've got great writers. I wish they'd just come up with a new plot. It's the same plot every fiscal year. What should we be doing? It's already been discussed. We should have done 12 separate bills. We should have done 12 separate bills. But again, whether Democrats are in control or Republicans are in control, we never do the 12 separate bills. Why do we always spend at least as much as we did last year, and why do we never cut spending? It's because Democrats want to grow the welfare state, and Republicans want to grow the military-industrial complex. And we're eventually going to get together, and they're both going to go up. I guarantee it. And both parties are just fine letting the bureaucrats do their thing, which should be our thing, according to Article 1. Section 8 in the Constitution. We are empowered with these things. Most important of the things we do is the funding, and that's the big lever we have. You know, I've sat through now almost 2 years of hearings in this Congress where we've exposed lies at the CDC, shortcuts at the FDA, unconstitutional gun bans at the ATF, over prosecution of January 6ers at the DOJ, targeting common citizens at the FBI, spying by the NSA, illegal mandates for livestock by the USDA, targeting plant vaccine or transgenic plant vaccine at the NSF, and censorship, the censorship industrial complex of which the NSF is part of, automobile kill switch at the DOT. Now, these are all things I think most Democrats are just fine with, this kind of totalitarian state that the bureaucrats are pushing on us. But Republicans at least pretend to be against these things. But what are we going to do this September? We're going to fund every freaking one of those things that we have exposed. That is the tool that we have, is the funding. Why are we funding things we don't like? We don't have to. Well, it's because we're addicted to spending. And this doesn't do anything about the addiction at all. So let me touch on one point too here that I think is important. Is, you know, a couple years ago, or a summer and a half ago, I suppose now, we did something where we allowed the debt limit to be increased. But as a condition of that, we said if you do a CR that lasts past April 30th, everything's going to get cut 1%. And that, to me, seemed like at least a little tinge of fiscal responsibility was creeping in. But now I notice that this CR, instead of going 1 year and giving us time to do the 12 appropriations bills, is going to go 6 months. Now, let me tell you what's going to happen because this goes 6 months. Number one, it ends in March 28th, on March 28th. Well, the automatic cuts happen on April 30th if the CR went past that. So that is exactly why the speaker chose a 6-month CR, is so we don't have even the chance, a threat to this town. It's a threat of a 1% cut. We don't want to even, this is like T-ball. The 1% cut is on the tee and Republicans won't even swing at it. So instead, we're going to do a 6-month CR instead of a 1-year CR. That sets up another crisis next spring where we can do another pretend fight sometime around March. And that fight it'll be the same fight regardless of who wins the presidency and who's in charge of the Senate and the House. And we're basically going to get pretty much the same result. But that's 6 months from now. In the meantime, we can kick the can down the road. All of these things that we've exposed and all of these hearings are going to continue to get funded. But wait, there's a bright, shiny object on this CR. I've never seen one of these. I have never seen a bright, shiny object attached to one of these must-pass bills. Oh, wait, no. It actually happens. There always is. A bright, shiny object. A bauble, if you will. A little something to get excited about. This SAVE Act. It's going to save us all, right? And by the way, this is good political theater. I do like this part of it, that we're going to see almost every Democrat cast a vote so that illegals can vote in our elections. I mean, that's pretty clever on the part of our speaker to set that up, make you all take that vote. But here's what he's going to do after you take that vote. He's going to take it off. The bright, shiny object goes away. It's Lucy in the football again. And the American public is all revved up. Yeah, we're going to get to save it. We're going to save these elections. We're going to stop the illegals from voting. Really? How are you going to do that in like 6 weeks? I think they're already registered if they're going to vote. Some of them probably already voted. This SAVE Act ain't going to save anything. And particularly because it ain't ever going to become law. It's a false promise to get all the Republicans half pregnant. And then you're going to get fully pregnant by the end of September when you vote for this CR. That is not going to have this, I hate to break this to you. I mean, the Democrats already know this. I'm not telling you anything special. I hate to break it to the Republicans. You ain't getting the SAVE Act. It is not going to stay on this bill. Why? Because we're going to cave. We're going to cave. Is it a fight worth having? Absolutely, it's a fight worth having. Make those Democrats say they want illegals to vote. Make them take that vote as many times as you can. And then make them go to the ballot box in November. But that's what it is political theater, folks. We all know where it ends up. We've seen it. I've been here 12 years. I've seen it 12 times. I refuse to be a thespian in this failure theater. And with that, I yield back.
All right, and that's the. Isn't it refreshing to see someone who's actually honest in Washington, D.C.? Someone who's actually going to tell you what's really going on. That the Uniparty is united in basically stabbing we the people in the back. And what you're going to see in the presidential debate is oligarchy versus we the people. The reason they hate Trump, and I'm going to tell you right now, is because he's not an oligarch. And they say, oh, he's going to be a dictator on all this kind of stuff. Well, no, he's not. But they're telling you what they are. They're projecting onto Trump what they are. They're the dictators. Both the Republicans and the Democrats, the establishment Republicans with the Democrats, they're the dictators. They're the ones that keep messing with we the people, messing with the Constitution, trying to destroy the Constitution, constantly trying to um, put us under a feudalist system where they are the oligarchs and we are the subjects who have to get the morsels. You know, they get the 80, 90% of the wealth, and we get 10%. And we say we live in a constitutional republic. And some say, oh no, we live in a democracy. Well, it's kind of a semi-democracy. It's a constitutional republic, but it's a constitutional republic by representation, the vote of the people bringing in the representatives. But now, with the deep state, the fourth branch of government, the bureaucracy, the bureaucratic agencies in the executive branch, it's an oligarchy. And they can care less about the Constitution. And if you don't think the way they want you to think, they're coming after you. If you don't act the way they want you to act, they're coming after you. If you don't support the right political agendas, they're coming after you. And who cares what the Constitution says? This is what we're dealing with. And this is why they don't want Trump to be president. And this is why they're trying to take him out, because he's a threat to the oligarchy and the feudalist system. Now, this oligarchy feudalist system is worldwide. And you see rebellions in countries around the world against it. And so the oligarchs, the worldwide oligarchs, the Club of Rome, the Council of 300, and all of the subsidiaries of that oligarch system are doing everything they can to stop the uprising of the people against it. And this Congress person, this congressman here, is a part of We the People. He's one of the few in Washington, D.C. that are fighting for us and not just bending over for the oligarch system. All right. Let's see. This one is, I won't play what he says, but you can read it. The migrant crisis is getting out of hand. U.S. Army veteran Corey Guaterex, I can't pronounce his last name. Anyway, I'm here today to explain that we now have approximately 300,000 plus children missing in this country. That is unacceptable. Yeah, it is unacceptable. And you know what? A lot of them are being trafficked across the border. And of course, what are the oligarchs telling you? And I'm going to include Republicans and Democrats among the oligarchs. They're telling you, oh, when you separate them, you're breaking up families. No, you're rescuing the children from their traffickers. But the oligarchs don't want you to understand and know that. Now, this is interesting. This deals with corruption. So, and he's talking, this is Judge Joe Brown talking about the corruption of Kamala and what she did as Attorney General. So let's listen in for, well, it's 18 minutes. I don't have time to do 18 minutes. But, you know, she was involved in protecting One West Bank for over 1,000 violations of federal law when she was Attorney General of California. Why? Because she's a part of the oligarchy. And the oligarchy protect their own. They protect their money sources and all of that. Everybody's saying, pass the SAVE Act, pass the SAVE Act. Well, I mean, you can see it up here. Pass the SAVE Act, right? Anyone who's against the SAVE Act is an enemy of America. But the oligarchs are all enemies of the America that was established by the founders. Down here, this is a big deal. Elon Musk passed the SAVE Act. But you just heard what's happening. Now, this one is interesting. I'll play this one, and this is an example of what's happening in the country. So let me take this back, and you can listen.
So wait till you hear this one. I'm just taking my dog for a walk. Anyway, so my daughter enrolls my 4-year-old grandson into preschool last week, and they have a little meet and greet. I think it was Thursday. I just heard about this yesterday. And if you watch my channel, you know I live in small town Ohio. So she goes, takes him down to the meet and greet. They tell her, that she has to hire a translator with her own money in order to send him to preschool because he is the only student that doesn't speak Spanish. Really? So obviously she didn't do it. She pulled him out of preschool. And this migrant problem is it's not a red state, blue state thing, because I live in a red state and we're just overrun with them. So it's our whole government. It's all of them. Can you believe that? Can't go to preschool because he doesn't speak Spanish. Unbelievable.
And that's where we're heading, folks. They're trying to destroy our culture. They attack anything that's white because, white men developed our system of government. Our culture originally came out of England, and the culture that was formed from that. And then it became a multicultural situation because more and more people came in from various means, but we have every ethnicity and from every nation in the world here in the United States now, and that's okay to have subcultures. But if you can't, if you're an original culture here, I mean, we speak English. English is the official government language of the United States, just like English is the official government language of the Philippines, right? Now, they have different dialects in the Philippines, like Ilocano, like Tagalog, that people speak locally. But if they're going to conduct business, they do it in English because then you have a unification around the country as far as being able to communicate with each other for the purpose of doing what's best for the nation. Well, if you don't have a language that's common among all the people in the country, where they can all communicate together and understand each other and then work together to do what's best for the nation, then what you have a balkanization of the country and everything starts breaking up. And that's the problem with what this gentleman is saying. Oh, now we, the original people here, not the original as far as Native Americans, but I mean the people who originally formed the country, known as the United States of America, who used English to form it and have used English throughout its history, suddenly now we are put out and pushed off to the side. And no, now Spanish is going to be the new language, or Portuguese is going to be the new language, or whatever it might be, right? Chinese, the new language. But English, oh no, you're just racist if you speak English. I mean, I could see that coming down the pike. Well, what happens when you try to fight corruption? I'm going to leave you with this one because we're running out of time. Listen to this police chief out of Tennessee.
It's transnational.
Hold on, let me bring you back. Excuse me. This is a chief of police out of Tennessee, the great state of Tennessee, and he's going to tell you what happens when you fight corruption.
Hello, everyone. I'm Assistant Chief Sean Taylor with the Millersville Police Department in Middle Tennessee. Many of you may have seen my video last week regarding the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation raiding our police department and my personal residence. They came and they seized evidence regarding corruption that we had locally that tied into corruption nationally, and they took all of our files so that we are unable to complete these cases. The cases that we've been working on affect every American. They affect us in the mortgages. fraudulent mortgages, human trafficking, narcotics trafficking, and many other crimes. We have crisscrossed the United States talking to state attorney generals, senators, congresspeople, and numerous law enforcement officials throughout the United States. We've identified a major corruption that's transnational. It involves the BRICS nations and China and investment companies and fraudulent mortgages on homes here in the United States in very key counties and key states. It goes into the election integrity and fraud, and it's creating a geopolitical shift within our political system. This is a multifaceted attack from a foreign adversary who is paying off our local municipal, county, state, and federal politicians to keep from coming to light. We are moving forward with this case in other states and other arenas, even though they have taken our files and our information. This is very important to us. When I say us, I mean we the people. It's time that we the people come together. It's time that we stop allowing ourselves to be segregated by our own government. No matter what race you are, what creed, or what religion you are Americans. We need to stand together as Americans and demand accountability of our elected officials. It's time for this corruption to stop and for us to have our country back so that we know we leave it in the good hands to our children, our grandchildren, because if we don't stand up and do this, we will no longer have a country to hand over to them. I'd like to send a special thanks out to Mark Fincham. He wrote a very good article that all of you can go and read at yournews.com regarding the information that I'm talking about tonight. One of the things that happened that really upsets me that the TBI did at my residence was they urinated in my bathtub and tracked urine throughout my home. To me, that was the government saying, piss on you, America. And that's not okay. It's time to stand up, unify, come together peacefully, and demand accountability. Thank you very much.
And that's what the oligarchs do, ladies and gentlemen. They don't care about you. They don't care about your family. And let me get you to one more. It's worth it. Agenda 21. And I will begin this.
I want to tell you about a few of the things that I have learned during these last 5 years of intensive research. Perhaps the most startling thing that I can share with you is that all of the conspiracy theories that you've ever heard about one world government, about the UN takeover of the world, all of those conspiracies have now been laid to rest. There's nothing conspiratorial about it. It's all published. The UN-funded Commission on Global Governance began meeting in 1992 in earnest and met for 4 years, and last fall released their final report. It is entitled Our Global Neighborhood. A few of the things that they wish to do: create a world standing army under the day-to-day command of, who else? The UN Secretary General. They recommend the creation of a new Economic Security Council, into which the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the United Nations Development Program, and the World Trade Organization would all be consolidated. A unified worldwide banking scheme, currency. I don't think I need to draw any more pictures on that point. Now, those non-government organizations like ours that are not accredited by the UN, we are called populist trash, activists who can destroy, they say, in a moment, years of deliberation. And you're darn right. And I have been challenged on the radio and in audiences like this, Mr. Lamb, there's no such thing as a global agenda. Hey, friend, you're absolutely wrong. Here it is. It's called Agenda 21. Agenda 21. The primary document presented in Rio de Janeiro and adopted by more than 100 heads of state, including George Bush, which lays out in intricate detail all of the transformation that must take place in society in order for it to become sustainable as they define sustainability. This may be available at the United Nations bookstore. I had to pick this up. I had not seen one until last July, had not been able to get one. I happened to be in Geneva attending a United Nations meeting, and I went to the bookstore and bought the thing. I believe it cost $45. Now, the Conference of the Parties held its first meeting in Nassau last December. At that first meeting, the United Nations Environment Program presented them with a global biodiversity assessment. Started in 1992 with a grant from the Global Environment Facility for $3.3 million.
Folks. I'm going to have to hold it there because the presidential debate's about to start. Sorry to do this to you. But I'm going to watch the debate and then report on that later on. Thanks for watching. That should give you enough to do a little bit of research and find out what's really going on. Thanks for watching, and I hope this is beneficial. I will have more. We're going to dig on this and hopefully try to keep it in a manner that YouTube won't attack this channel with censorship. We'll try to keep it on the up and up as much as possible and abide by their rules. So anyway, God bless, and we'll see you next time on the C-Files as the debate begins.